What's up, Team B2? And today we are going to talk about all things missiles, nuclear, chemical, ballistic cruise. How do you make sense of it, and what do you do with them? Stay tuned. Well, I get this question a lot, and it comes up like, hey, B2, I kind of want to get into using some of these missiles, and you don't really use them a whole lot in your games, but you know what? How do you use them? How do you get them? What do you do? So we're going to answer that. But first, I want to show you just the actual menu for the research, right? So you're going to click on missiles here, and it's going to load you up a page that has a bunch of different options. So we're going to look at the types of missiles first, then we're going to look at the delivery methods next, and then we're going to move into what you target with them, right? So there's a couple of different things going. So first thing you have to do is actually learn about the guided missile program here. And on day one, you can click this, and it's pretty pricey. Most people won't do that early because of the rare materials costing $3 grand. You can upgrade your infantry twice and have units that are 50, 60, 70% stronger than the others, right? So if I look, you go on here, I could update this. You got to first learn this at 1325 and then again for 1460. So you're going to get a 30% boost just going day one to day four, unless you can purchase enough on the market, right? So on day one, you can pop down here, you can click rare materials, and there's usually some to buy. So if you do have extra cash or you want to gold in some cash, it is possible to buy those materials and start your missile program early. I don't play that way. I don't recommend it because I don't really, I don't know. I think there's quicker ways to expand, which gives you annexed cities, and then the missile game comes in 25, day 30, day 40, somewhere in there, if you're not already expanding, right? So the way I use the missile program is to overcome roadblocks. If I get into where there's a couple of, whoops, wrong menu. If I get into where there's a couple of strong countries and a couple of alliances and you're having trouble getting, like there's big stacks of stuff, you're going to have to blow them up with a missile. And so you're going to want to have research this already. So you would come in and you can really just do a missile program off the guided missile program here, start the warheads. What'll happen is when you click on the actual type, and we're going to go into delivery methods, I just want to take a look at it. If I look, this is a nuclear ICBM, right? If I click on there, it's going to tell me I need 4 of the yellow ones to make it. So I have to research down here and then build 4 of these basically on here. So when you look into a city to actually build something, and you're going to come into right down here, you're going to go to missiles. If I want to build 4 of these, it's going to cost 6,000 supplies. It's going to cost 3,000 rare materials. So you see how expensive a missile program gets, right? You also have to come down and research and get a delivery method. And I'm going to talk about these kind of in detail here in a little bit, but I just wanted to show you, here's where you'd actually produce these units, right? So now that we know that, the next part of it is to understand what types of missiles there are. There's the ICBM, there's a ballistic and a cruise, and what's the difference between them? So first, let's look at just the ICBM. If I click on there, it's going to tell me that can target province centers and cities, deal splash damage. It also will damage friendly units, can be shot. It shows up as a fixed-wing aircraft, which means it can be attacked, right? If I go in there, it tells me the defense rating on a jet or a chopper is a 1. You can attack jets at a 4. Basically, here's what it would hit. If this hits a city with an infantry, it's going to deal 400 damage to infantry, basically obliterating any units that are down there. It will do 400 to a ship, it will do 50 on a city, and it will destruct population. Incredibly powerful on the ICBM side. If I go to the regular ballistic missile, there's a conventional and a chemical, and both of them do different things. So if I look at the chemical, it tells me I need 2 of just the regular warheads to build a Scud level 1, right? You can see it doesn't do as much damage, but it's a lot more cost effective. So if I again go back into my city and I look at the missile and I say, okay, what does it take to make a conventional warhead? Oh, well, I just need 2 of those. That's about a third of the price. That's making 1 nuke. Well, you need a third of the rare materials. You need a little less fuel. You need a little less electronics, and it's a little less on the cash side to buy, right? So you can see how the different types. But when I look at the damage of it now, I'm going to come back across here. It's not going to do as much damage on a conventional. It's just going to do 25 to units and 80 to a tank. So it will take out 2 to 3 units, or let's see, that would be a unit and a half on the military at the high levels. I believe they have like that'd be 2.5. So if I look backwards and I look at infantry, I can tell you exactly what it'll take out. If I go to the highest level, because most people will have researched this, and I look, they're going to have a defense rating of an 8 and an 8.1, right? As far as what you're going to actually take off as far as hit points, right? So there are some modifications. None of it really plays into on the warhead side. And then, of course, they're not going to be able to damage a missile, right? So you're going to be taking some heavy damage on there. If I look back now on the missile side and I go, okay, what about a cruise missile? And I look at just the conventional cruise, you have even less damage. Now, part of the reason for that is the delivery methods, and I'm going to show you some of the missiles are easier to get into place than others. So, but I just wanted to show that if I go back to the ballistic missile and I look at the chemical, then it tells me, well, on a chemical attack, I'm going to do a lot more damage to people. So if my intent is to fight a country that has a ton of ground units, then I'm going to be hitting them with these chemicals because it's going to do more, and it's also going to have some splash damage. If I wanted to step it up and build a nuclear, it's going to do even more damage, a 250, a 250. When you hit somebody with a nuclear, it's going to do a ton of damage, even with a ballistic missile, right? So now that you know the different types of missiles, if we go and look at the end units for them, a nuclear ICBM is going to do a tremendous amount of damage. Basically, you hit a city with this, and it just gets obliterated, and you walk on in and take the city over, right? Same thing on a conventional. It's going to do a little bit more damage. That would take out, however many land units that have 50 hit points. And most people aren't building hospitals, so you're going to have a lot of damaged infantry if they've been fighting, right? 150 on the tanks. You can see how this steps up, and then as you go down to nuclear again and hit that, you can see just a tremendous amount of damage and the attack ranges that come in. So delivery methods, right? There are a lot of different ways to deliver this, and I'm going to look at specifically on this board the Eastern Doctrine on here. So what is the quickest way to get to basically fire a missile out, right? If you look, it's going to be on your subs. On day one, if you build an attack submarine, you'll be able to launch cruise missiles, right? So, of course, on day one, it's going to be hard to research that. But if you wanted to gold that in, you could. You're going to go down and hit this, and then you're going to hit the chemical, and that's going to unlock this conventional cruise missile on here, right? You won't need the chemical, but if you unlock here, you're going to have to build this guy first and then build this cruise to get it over there, and then you'll be able to launch your first missile via the attack sub here. And you can look, it'll tell you that it has a capacity of 1, and it reloads in 12 hours. So you're going to have to rebuild another one and have a stockpile of these missiles, which, again, just gets incredibly expensive, right? So let's start over. That's the quickest way to get to it. But let's see what actually will fire a missile. First off, there's no infantry units that actually fire any sort of missile, right? If you go to their end game, there's no missiles over here, none. And as you go down to the different ones, you just don't see the missile icon. Even on the special forces, doesn't happen, right? So if you go on to your armored units, there are no armored units. You can go right to the end units here. There's no missiles. Just to verify for you that none of these actually have them in there. The first chance you're going to get as far as the menu, not on the day, is going to be down here, right? Now, you can actually take and get like the upgrades for the rocket launcher, and then look, you can actually launch a cruise missile from your multiple rocket launchers, which is kind of cool. Again, it only has a missile capacity 1. The reload time is 12 hours, so it does take a little bit to really use that, right? If I go down and look, there's the other units that are available don't have the ability to launch any sort of missile products, right? So if you're using multiple rocket launchers as part of your defense for your ground units anyway, you put them close to a city, and then you fire off a couple of volleys and then move your troops in, you're gonna have less troop damage. Well, now you can actually throw a missile out from there and poop, hit the city, and then now walk your ground units right on in, because most of the stuff will be obliterated. If you plan on using that city to do any sort of production, you might want to think twice about shelling it. You might want to radar it and see what's actually in there. If you do missile it, it's going to destroy buildings and all kinds of stuff depending on the missile that it is. There are no helos that launch missiles, and you can see I rely pretty heavy on helos in this game, but if I look, there's no missile capacity, no missile capacity, no missile capacity, right? So that's infantry, armored, and helos that don't have it. Another one is the strike fighter that's going to give you, they just call them fighters in here. But look, on day one, right, nothing here. Nothing on the UAV, nothing from the strike fighter. And as you come through the menu here, you're going to go to about day 13, and you're going to see your first one pop up, right? I think there's a day 11 one somewhere. Yeah, here we go. The strike fighter for day 11, the flanker, right? So if I look at what that does, that's just an all-around fighter. Basically, it's going to do ground units, it's going to do air units. It's going to kind of be one of your mainstays if you're building some planes, right? And then, of course, as you get down naval strike fighter, anything from here is going to have missiles all the way down. The cool part is that the UAV will get the missiles on day 12, and it will handle being able to send one cruise missile every 12 hours. Now, why is that cool? Because anytime an unmanned aerial vehicle it flies autonomously, important, unit does not declare war when penetrating foreign airspace. This UAV can actually jump into an airspace and then get in position and fire right over top of a city. That's very handy, and this happens on day 12, right? Now, as you get down further on here, you're going to have this. It's going to have, most stuff will have an increased capacity, and again, this one's going to be a cruise missile, but if you look back through naval fighter, now you got one every 12 hours here. Where's that one? That strike fighter. Most of the jets are going to have a 1. Yep, a 1 capacity in every 12 hours on the cruise missile. Heavies. This is one that I don't use a lot. I need to start, the more I research it, the more I kind of dig them, and I need to get back into it. But if you look on this one, the Naval Patrol does not get them very early. You're going to have to go into day 13, where is it at? Day 19 here to get this, and it's only going to have a capacity 1 for 12 hours, right? So you're starting to get a theme here. Most missile reloads are 12 hours. Anything on a plane carries a 1, but I'm going to show you how to increase that value, right? The AWACS doesn't get them at all. It's just a patrol thing, and if you come down, still just a patrol thing. But the heavy bombers, they get missile capacity from day 4, basically. The first day you can build it, you're going to come into this missile capacity. Now at high end, you're going to be able to carry 3 with a 12 reload, right? So that means you're going to be able to put 3 missiles on there, go out and fly, shoot 3 times, and then come back. And of course, the stealth is the same thing, 3 for 12 hours. Pretty handy on there. There's 2 more ways, actually there's 3 more ways to deliver. And then you're going to look on your ship side. Your corvettes and frigates are not going to be able to. So as you come down here to the very end, you'll look, the corvette and the frigate don't have a missile capacity, but destroyers and crews do. And if you look down here, the destroyer is going to be day 13. Yeah, day 13. I don't think it has it on date. Right. So day 13, you're going to be able to carry 1 cruise missile and shoot it every 12 hours. Not a bad deal. As far as the cruiser goes, though, you're going to be able to fire 2 every 12 hours from the first level, day 3, on a cruiser. So if you're looking at something that does some all-around damage and you look at what it actually does, it defends a little bit well against everything, right? And does really well against ships, and then will allow you to, of course, fire the missiles out of here, right? So that pretty much sums it up for ships. Aircraft carriers don't get the capacity. Yeah, right. They don't get to fire anything missile related off. And again, like, these are great. If you have a stack of ships and you can hit them with a missile, whew, man, like, that clears out a ton for you. Or especially on a city that has some sort of building that's a level 5, like a secret level 5 building, or bunkers level 5, or something crazy where you just need to clear that out to be able to save. So subs are the last one that goes on, and I saved this one for last because these are probably I feel like these are the best delivery methods. They're harder to spot. Most people don't put Naval Patrol up for radar. They're just difficult. But on day 1 here, you'll notice that you can shoot a cruise missile from the attack submarine. When you go to the ballistic sub on 5, you can shoot ballistic missiles. Now remember, like, the ballistic ones were the ones that do a tremendous amount of damage, right? So if you come back on a conventional ballistic, it's very cheap, and it will knock out most of the units in any city, right? As you get to the higher end here, and you look at a conventional down here, there's not going to be much that survives a city when you're hitting at this level. It's not going to do too much building damage, but it is going to knock the population out. So if you're looking for VPs and you're dropping the population of a town, it's going to hurt you over time. No big deal though. 3 VPs or 4 VPs for a city with a low population is better than no VPs, right? When you're trying to win a game. So, and these subs down here, I wanted to point out at the very last level, when you look at here, they'll be able to carry 2 for 12. But when you come down into this class, look, you can actually carry 2 cruise and 2 ballistic on the ballistic missile. And the cruise missiles reload every 8 hours. So now you're able to back to back, instead of waiting a day, you have a 16-hour turnaround to hit 2 missiles out. I do recommend this though. When you get ready to fire, you want to have some radar in that area, and you want to see if there are anti-aircraft, right? So when you first start using missiles, you'll be like, okay, I'm getting ready to blow someone up, and you'll like zero in and go, I'm going to hit a Minibad with a missile, and you shoot it, and then they have some anti-aircraft that shoot stuff down, right? So I'd be remiss without pointing out some of the AA features that are on here and going back through. So if you look on this side, there's really nothing that's going to shoot down missiles here. We can push it up there, like nothing on the infantry side. You're going to have to go into your support and then look for some of these options, right? So if I look at mobile anti-air, then I need to know, okay, well, what does this actually hit? It's going to do 2 damage to a missile. Now, a missile, you'd have to know again, like how much does it take to fire down a missile, basically, they've got 22 hit points on there. And so, they're not easy to shoot down. Basically, you're going to have something stronger than, you'd have to have like a 5 stack of mobile anti-air. Now on the SAM, on the launcher here, you're going to step it up, and you're going to see it does 5.5 damage. So a couple of SAMs would be able to knock a missile out of the air on you. You wouldn't have it would be tough, basically. So I think they're going to get 2 to 3 shots off, depending on the speed of the incoming missile. That's something you would want to watch out for. Now, even better, the theater defense system is going to knock a missile out at a 16, right? So what I always recommend with the THAADs is that you stagger them out so that missiles have to cross several of them to get anywhere. And I always put them behind cities, right? And I try to connect 2 cities. So like if I was here, I'd put my THAAD somewhere in here, and it would protect Karachi and Hyderabad. Very good in Europe though. When you have a lot of cities that are in a small view, you can throw a THAAD in here and pretty much cover 3 cities with one on there. So any questions about missiles and stuff? Like I didn't have any to fire on here off. You'll see they just make arcs and they follow through. I'll eventually do a video where I burn a couple of cities, but I didn't think it was necessary, just going over the basics of the nukes and everything. So let's put it into action, right? If you wanted to build a submarine, so we're going to come back and we're going to look at the research for the sub. You would need to probably go on this side with the ballistic, because these are great. You're not going to be fighting with these subs a lot. They're just going to kind of be, moving in and out of, out of range. They are going to be able to defend at a very low amount versus ships. So, but the main thing for ballistic sub is definitely the thing. If you wanted to go for the end unit and look, they're going to fight ships a little bit heavier. If you put a couple of these guys in with them, now you're going to be taking out ships. You're going to be one-shotting a ship every time you get in there, basically. Let's say you go with like 4 attack subs and 1 ballistic sub, then you can fire your 4 missiles off while you got 4 for defending on the attack side. You can start to put together a strat on there. I hope that makes sense. Any questions, hit me up in the comments. Always looking forward to playing games with you guys. Hit me up on the comments on my YouTube page, and we'll get things started. Have a great day.